good friends. Triple Changers fellas doing their best. Hanging out together with big lizard guys. Stretch up that thing until it sings 5, 6, 7, 8.
So, are you guys ready for another thrilling, white-knuckle, high-octane review? You get it, this fella's called Octane. But who is Octane? Well, my friends, along with Blitzwing and Astrotrain, Octane was one of the original 3 Decepticon Triple Changers. He's also a bad old untrustworthy bastard. Even his fellow Decepticons wanted to kill him most of the time. Sandstorm liked him though, so he still had more friends than you, didn't he? We'll have a look at the new Legacy United Sandstorm after, or you could just skip to the time code in the description if you're an absolute prick. Although Octane was one of the 3 Decepticon Triple Changers, his G1 toy didn't release until 1986, a full year after Astrotrain and Blitzwing in 1985. This meant that Octane didn't make his first appearance until season 3 of the cartoon, completely missing a spot in the 86 movie, unlike his more famous brothers. However, even if Octane was at the Battle of Autobot City, he would have probably avoided all the action, found a wee safe spot, and just checked out some Cybertronian scud till everyone had stopped shooting. Octane made quite the impression when he did show up in the cartoon. Octane's scheming and treacherous personality made him a real highlight amongst the season 3 cast, especially when he teamed up with the gigantic bumbling simpleton Trypticon. My favourite Octane episode saw our mischievous friend on the run after royally pissing off all the Decepticons. Seeking refuge, Octane travelled to Autobot City to get some advice from his buddy Sandstorm, where he was then ambushed by the Combaticons. After a narrow escape, Octane and Sandstorm decided they had more than enough of this shit and headed to the local space pub. During this romantic bro date, Octane survived an other hilariously bungled assassination attempt from a Skuxoid. Octane then sought shelter on Cybertron, stumbling upon an old Decepticon tomb. In the darkness of that tomb, Octane accomplished exactly what Zach Baggins has failed to do for 20 plus seasons of Ghost Adventures. He talked to a ghost. And not just any ghost, the campest, most fabulous ghost in all the universe. The ghost of Starscream. Yas, Queen. After his untimely and violent death in the movie, it was just awesome to see Starscream again. This bitch won't stay dead. No, mama. Anyway, the ghost of Starscream ended up possessing Cyclonus, which made for some very entertaining banter with the sweeps. The possessed Cyclonus and Octane then indulged in some light bondage before finally the jig was up and Starscream had to abandon his host. Due to the trauma of this event, Galvatron presumably just forgot he wanted to kill Octane, so everything turned out fine in the end. So, shall we have a look at a wee toy? From the final wave of Titan's Return in 2017, it's Octane. Yeah, Hasbro lost the rights to the name Octane. I hate it when that happens. It's like the old days when WWF wrestlers would go to WCW. You still know who they are, but it just feels awkward and weird to call Brutus the Barber Beefcake the Booty Man, or the Big Boss Man the Guardian Angel, or the Ultimate Warrior the Renegade. You get it, the Renegade wasn't actually the Ultimate Warrior. WCW just tried to make folk think he was. Classic WCW move. Just don't look at what happened to the fella that played the Renegade. Getting back to this Octane, you might notice that he looks a bit special. That's because this is the Japanese exclusive Takara repaint, making Octane more in line with how he appeared in the original series. Isn't he just stunning? Octane's robot mode is looking sharp. He's got just the right amount of extra detail and graveleys to really bring the animation model to life. Octane does have somewhat of a muted colour palette as per his original design, but that acts to make these splashes of purple really pop. Plus the metallic silver on Octane's hands is proper lovely, making it look like he's wearing shiny gloves like a fancy magician. Posability is great for a slightly older figure. Octane's legs are quite long and gangly, meaning you can get him in some really nice action poses. You can also fake a bit of ankle tilt as his whole lower legs spin round for transformation. Octane's arms and shoulders are a bit confusing at first. You have shoulder pad options here, meaning you can either leave these bits facing up or fold them flat for a more accurate silhouette. I prefer them folded down, but you need to turn them around with this red bit facing outward to retain full articulation. I wonder what those red bits are for. Oh, don't worry, we'll come back to that. The main gimmick with Titan's Return was headmasters, so Octane had to have one too. This is Merc. He's a lovely wee fella. I love his colour scheme. He ends up looking like a tiny Dreadwind, which is a good thing. When you're done admiring him, fold him up and plug Merc in. Merkin. Did you know that pubic wigs are called merkins? Well, now you do. What a good little head Merc becomes. Octane's face reminds me of a more youthful Galvatron, like Hot Rod was to Rodimus Prime. Perhaps Galvatron didn't kill Octane at the end of Starscream's Ghost because Octane was somehow his illegitimate son. Due to Octane's role in that aforementioned episode, these red shoulder pads are meant to face up and outward. Then you can replace Octane's head with a shite transparent Starscream one to make it look like the spectral sociopath has possessed Octane. Wow! Just like he never did in the episode. Starscream possessed Cyclonus, if you remember, so this gimmick is rather inaccurate. Why are the red blits knobbly? This reminds me of the last time I had to visit that special adult clinic. Due to a manufacturing error, my copy didn't include the Starscream headmaster and had two Octane ones instead. I don't think I'm missing much. You can get a similar effect using Mindwipe's headmaster if you really must see what it looked like. Which you mustn't you? You make me sick sometimes, you know that. There, it looks heavy shite. Are you happy now, you miserable bastard? Oh, I bet you want me to press this button on Octane's belly as well. There. Has that made anything better? No, it's even worse. Listen, these reviews take ages to research and write, pal, so why don't you just pipe down and let me do my thing? Alright? Anyway, this unnecessary Starscream business aside, the robot mode on Octane is amazing. Whereas Titan's Return, Astro Train and Blitzwing definitely looked in need of the upgrades they received in the subsequent toy lines, Octane is pretty much spot on and easily the definitive version of the character, and especially in this amazing Takara deco. How do the alt modes fare? Let's start with the weakest one. Octane's jumbo jet form is decent enough for the first 3 quarters. Oh, that last quarter though. Still, there's lots of positives here. I love how this adorably stubby nose cone flips out and spins round from inside Octane's legs. His wings are on these mental hinges that move on multiple spatial axes. Anyway, they're lots of fun to mess about with. There's loads of ways to integrate Merc with the plane. There's these wee nubbins you can plug his feet in to make him stand in the fuselage like an absolute maniac. Or there's a wee purple cockpit at the back you can sit in if you're feeling more sensible. The big problem here is that there's obviously a massive bifurcated truck cab hanging off either side of the plane. The wings act to obscure this a little bit, but it's like trying to cover up the body of that hooker you killed with only a smattering of soil and leaves. Oh God, they're on to me. I'm gonna fry for this one. Why did they die so easily? Why must I kill for you, my chubby lord? I still hear their screams. I still hear their screams. Anyway, if you can will yourself to ignore this eyesore, the plane mode isn't too bad. It's definitely a more convincing plane than Concept Megatron. What the fuck is this? Octane's truck mode fares far, far better. This looks amazing. There's heavy T-1000 liquid nitrogen truck vibes here. The truck looks so imposing and mean. Even though there's no movement in the cab, I think I prefer this tanker to the Laser Optimus mold. Unlike Laser Prime, Octane transforms into both the cab and trailer, meaning I don't have to find the space to store yet another useless bloody plastic box. That is much appreciated, as my IKEA Kallax is already struggling with all these fucking robots. I love the colours on this tanker. The charcoal black is just divine and feels really premium. All the paint apps are top notch here. I also really like how the plane wings fold away so neatly into the tanker. That is top tier transforming right there. It is a bit odd that there's passenger windows on the tanker. You could sell it as wee portholes to let you look at Octane's big old white liquid load. Ugh, I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit there. Overall, this Octane is a bloody banger. I love him. He's easily became my favourite triple changer and is a real highlight of my collection. Well done, big man. Well done. Since you're already here, shall we have a look at Octane's newly released buddy? This video was originally just going to be about Octane, but then my local Smiths unexpectedly got the new Legacy United Sandstorm, so now I feel obliged to include him as well. Thanks for doubling my workload, you orange shite. Just kidding, buddy. We're all good. So, who is Sandstorm? No, he's not Julian Barrett covered in sandpaper. First released in 1986, Sandstorm was one of the 3 Autobot Triple Changers, along with Springer and Broadside. Undoubtedly, Sandstorm was the best of the 3 toys, as I generally hate that pea green FUD Springer, and Broadside was just stupid. You can't be both an aircraft carrier and a jet. That is more mass shifting than your mum turning over in bed at night because she's fat. Anyway, Sandstorm's introduction to the G1 cartoon continuity came in the Season 3 episode Fight or Flee. On the losing end of a scrap with the aerial bots, Scourge and Cyclonus escaped through a trippy looking space anomaly. On the other side of the spinning vortex, the battered Decepticons discovered the planet Paradron, a world rich in energon, populated by a race of pacifist Autobots. Being complete and utter bellends, and realising the planet's populace were all snowflakes, Scourge and Cyclonus immediately seized control of the planet before sending a message to Galvatron and the other Decepticons to come on over and fill their boots. Sandstorm seemed to be the only inhabitant of the planet who was willing to put up a fight against the maniacal Decepticon invaders. Unfortunately, his pleas for action fell on deaf ears, leaving Sandstorm with only one option: to leave Paradron in search of help. Luckily, or seeing how this all turned out, maybe unluckily, Sandstorm ran across Rodimus Prime and the Autobots, who agreed to help in his fight. The Autobots then returned to Paradron with Sandstorm. After concluding Paradron was too rich in energy resources to let the Decepticons take control of it, Rodimus came up with a genius idea. We'll just blow the whole thing up, eh? No doubt this killed thousands of innocent Paradronian citizens who the small team of Autobots wouldn't have been able to evacuate in time. Those who were lucky enough to survive their planet's destruction and were relocated to Cybertron would have been left with nothing. No doubt they'd form a new destitute class in Cybertron, forced to beg for energon and living rough on the streets. You've got to ask yourself, who are the real villains of this episode? At least the Decepticons didn't blow up a bloody planet. It's no wonder Sandstorm became friends with Octane. I wouldn't want to hang around with the folk that destroyed my fucking home planet as well. Anyway, shall we have a look at Legacy United Sandstorm? How does this brand new Triple Changer compare to old Octane? You'd think 7 years of engineering advancements would make for a superior toy. I'm not too sure about that. Sandstorm's robot mode is a real chonker, mostly due to this hilariously oversized backpack. Unlike Studio Series 86 RC, this is totally in line for Sandstorm's character design. He's always looked like a guy wearing a novelty banana costume. This version of Sandstorm has went for the G1 toy aesthetic rather than the cartoon accuracy. You can tell by Sandstorm's head sculpt, as he doesn't have a faceplate in the cartoon. Presumably, this choice was made so Hasbro can resell this mould with a cartoon accurate head as part of yet another shite multi-pack. Guess I'll never get a bloody squeeze play then. You're real pricks sometimes, Hasbro. Sandstorm's robot mode is very good. Articulation is decent, apart from gaining access to Sandstorm's head inside this hollowed out hot dog bun of a backpack, and his ankle tilt kinda breaks the sculpt of his legs. That's just nitpicking though. It's a very solid effort from the big orange lad. Speaking of which, I love the mix of orange and black here. It really makes the blue of Sandstorm's eyes pop. The extra wee highlights of silver are also very classy, like 1980s Judy Finnegan naked under silk sheets on a 4-poster bed covered in caviar. Sandstorm comes with the usual guns in that, but also included is a wee cage on a winch. It's cool, I suppose. You can make it look like Sandstorm has captured a wee core class guy or some babies or something. My bet is it'll be one of those things you play with once, then lose down the back of the couch forever. I wish you could properly plug it into the back of the robot mode like this. That looks pretty cool, huh? It kinda works, but it just falls off as soon as you look at him funny. It stores much more solidly on this butt hook. How do Sandstorm's alt modes fare? Again, we'll start with the weakest one. I'm really not sure about this dune buggy. If you look at it from a high angle, it's not too bad. The front section is pretty cohesive, and I love that the wheels jut out the sides on visible suspension. The back of the buggy is a bit of a riot though. It doesn't feel connected to the front. The colour breakup and excess kibble just look awkward, ramshackle and unfinished. I know this wee spoiler is accurate to the G1 design, but is it really doing anything, is it? It looks heavy pish. This is definitely one of those alt modes that you're not sure you've fully transformed. I had to look at the instructions to confirm this was indeed it. The undercarriage of the buggy is pretty awful with minimal ground clearance. This rolls with about as much grace as this dog sliding down the stairs. The wheels are done in lovely rubber, so at least that's nice. Sandstorm's cage accessory can split open so you can plug this bit on top. I really don't think it makes things any better. You can at least plug the gun on top now as well. Again, the true highlight of all three of Sandstorm's modes is this absolutely banging helicopter. Wow, this is more like it. What a chunky smasher. It's very obvious what alt mode was prioritised here. The only hint that there's another alt mode is the wheels hanging out underneath. Even with that, the way the wheels fold into the undercarriage is quite genius. Look at these lovely rotors. It is so satisfying to splay them out and give them a good old spin. The cage accessory makes a lot more sense with the helicopter as well. You can stage your own mountain rescue or deliver yourself a nice biscuit. Top tier alt mode here. So, should you get either of these triple changing chums? Both receive hearty recommendations from me. Sandstorm is excellent and a great representation of the advancements of the current toy line, with his banging articulation and awesome helicopter mode. His Dune buggy mode is objectively shite though. I think Octane is quite special. Despite his age, he fits right in with your modern bots, and that tanker truck is a top tier alt mode. If Hasbro were to make another Octane, I'd struggle to think how they would top this absolute smasher. Maybe by ditching the headmaster gimmick and the useless shite Starscream thing. Truth be told, those wee foibles just make me love Octane even more. If you can find them for a decent price, don't hesitate to pick them up. The friendship between Octane and Sandstorm shows us people with diametrically opposing views can still be pals. Although they may be Autobot and Decepticon, they can put their differences aside and enjoy a simple drink together. An important message, and perhaps one that J.K. Rowling should embrace. Maybe then she'll finally stop being terrified of trans women and realise they're just people too. People in the midst of this crazy and strange world who just want to feel comfortable in the flesh prison fate decided to throw their unwilling consciousness inside. Maybe then, J.K. Rowling will finally keep her hateful black heart to herself. That's something I'm sure we'd all enjoy. Right, I'm off to write fan fiction about Galvatron travelling back in time and impregnating a tanker truck. Anyway, you guys have a great night. Catch you later.
Like, subscribe until you die. Like, subscribe until you die. Like, subscribe until you die.